Hello, good evening, and welcome to Science Fiction Snob, the channel where we recommend good Golden Age science fiction for you. Today we're going to talk about two things. More than two things, four things. We're going to talk about the ABCs of science fiction, who they are, the big three, and then we're going to talk about two of the ABCs. So let's get right down to it. The ABCs of science fiction: Isaac Asimov, Ray Bradbury, and Arthur C. Clarke. Why are these guys called the ABCs? Well, because they're ABC, Asimov, Bradbury, Clarke. It flows off the tongue. It does very well that way. And they are some of the early Golden Age science fiction authors, well known. I personally prefer to go by the big three: Asimov, Clarke, and Heinlein. I think that these were the most these writers had the most effect on the Golden Age, and that's generally why they're called the big three. It's not as good. The ACHs of science fiction doesn't sound as good. So, but if you want to talk about who had the most effect on science fiction during this time, these are the three to talk about. So, today I'm going to talk about all four of these writers, but first I'm going to talk about Bradbury and Clarke, because I think first of all, those two aren't my favorites. I've read most of Asimov and Heinlein stuff, and each of them deserve at least one video because of all the works they have. So let's move on, and we're going to talk about Bradbury and Clarke, and we'll save Asimov and Heinlein for another day. So let's start by talking about the B and the C of the ABCs of science fiction. Let's talk about Ray Bradbury. So Ray Bradbury's key work, it's kind of unusual to include Ray Bradbury within, the science fiction. There's a reason he's not in the big three of the science fiction genre, because as he himself said in an interview, he says, "I don't know why they call me a science fiction author. Only one of my books is science fiction, Fahrenheit 451, and the second one that he's most known for, The Martian Chronicles, is a work of fiction," which he says. And in my view, Fahrenheit 451 is not so much a science fiction novel as some of the works by like Asimov or Heinlein. It's more of dystopian fiction, and I can even remember studying it in it being one of the books studied in high school back when I was in high school, along with other dystopian fiction like Brave New World, Handmaid's Tale, things like that. So that would sort of be a key piece of science fiction that would be studied, and it leans more as to the dystopian side in my view. So anyway, why do we need to know about Ray Bradbury? Because he's the B, and because of Fahrenheit 451. It's big within our popular culture. Everyone pretty much knows about it or has heard about it. So what is the story of Fahrenheit 451? I'm not going to give much away about it. You should read it because, like I said, it is a core science fiction book, whether you like it or not. But it's a story of the story starts out and about a fireman, and you immediately believe, oh, a fireman, he puts out fires. But then they go to their the firemen are burning books. So whenever there's a book burning or any discussion of free speech or evil, in the 80s and 90s, talking about, rap music and burning CDs and stuff like that. It's always a reference back to, to World War II and all the Nazis, and also to Fahrenheit 451. Incidentally, it's apparently being turned into a TV series, which is supposed to come out fairly soon. So read the book before that happens, so you know about it. Next, let's talk about Arthur C. Clarke. He's mainly known for two things. First, his Rama series, which is quick synopsis of the plot is that a large spacecraft is detected on its way to Earth, and we send out a group to investigate that spacecraft. They land on the spacecraft and explore it. There's 4 books in the series. The first one is Rendezvous with Rama. The second one, Rama 2, Garden of Rama, and Rama Revealed, all written by Clark. Now, so there's these 4 main books. Now, some they'll say there's 7 in the books. There's a bunch of books written by Gentry Lee. I don't know if I haven't read those myself. I've read the Arthur C. Clarke ones. That's to me those are the books that you should read. But you might like it. You might try Lee's stuff, and you might enjoy that as well. But try the first one and see if that's your kind of thing. The thing with Clarke is that he likes to explore. His books are more uplifting and hopeful, and he likes to explore themes of God and these advanced alien civilizations which are godlike to us, and how do we react and that sort of thing. So it's an interesting read for that. I would recommend it for sure. His other key work is, of course, 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is Stanley Kubrick's famous film from the 60s. So you have to. 2001 is a key part of pop culture and science fiction culture, so you definitely have to see the movie and read the book as well that it's based on. But of course it's followed up by 2010, 261, and 3001, all by Arthur C. Clarke. So. The movie itself is kind of key. This is the late 60s. This is before Star Wars, before the blockbuster science fiction, where science fiction is a lot more thoughtful and philosophical. Especially 2001 has got that sort of feeling to it. So for parts of it anyway. So you might want to you watch it. It's kind of slow paced. Very different than modern the Star Wars style of science fiction, though arguably Star Wars is not science fiction. It's more of a space opera or science fantasy. But anyway, definitely check it out and read the books. The first 2001 anyway, for sure, so that you can you at least know what people are talking about when they talk about it. It's very interesting to watch the movie and then look at sort of the more modern, as I said, the Star Wars style of science fiction or any of the other science fiction stories. But definitely check out those 2 authors. They're not my favorite authors. I much prefer Asimov and Heinlein of the 4. So in my next videos, I'm going to start looking at the specific authors, and I'm going to do Asimov and Heinlein both. They each rate their own video. There's enough to talk about them for those, and I will steer you towards their major series, where you might want to start, sort of a very general overview of what the book is about. I don't want to try to keep away from spoilers as much as possible, and everything that I talk about is going to be most likely will be a recommend. I'm not going to talk about things that suck. I want to talk about books that I think you should read if you're new to science fiction, or you didn't grow up when the golden age books were very popular and all around. I want to steer you towards good science fiction that you can read, that is all there. It was waiting for you to take out from the library or get on Amazon, or however you want to get that. So leave comments if if you so desire. There's lots of books that you like. recommendations to others, what you from the golden era, things that people should check out. And I'll see you in my next video. Good night.